For this example, we have this conditional statement here. It says, if your astrological sign is Scorpio, then you like to stay up late. So you could see that this is an if-then. Obviously, you could see right here, your astrological sign is Scorpio. So maybe this is if P, then Q, where you like to stay up late. Every conditional statement has three related statements that are associated with it. The first one is known as the converse. Sometimes I like to call it the reverse, because what it does is it then switches the antecedent and the consequent. So then it becomes if Q, then P. The other related statement is the inverse. It inverts the results. What is true is false and vice versa. So this is if not P, then not Q. And then the third related statement is the contrapositive. And that states, if not Q, then not P. So if our original conditional statement here states, if your astrological sign is Scorpio, then you like to stay up late, then the converse is, if you like to stay up late, then your astrological sign is Scorpio. The antecedent becomes the consequent and vice versa. The inverse is we negate each simple statement. So that becomes, if your astrological sign is not Scorpio, then you do not like to stay up late. And finally, for the contrapositive, we then switch the antecedent and the consequent of the inverse. So this would be, if you do not like to stay up late, then your astrological sign is not Scorpio. So what does this mean? Well, there's a relationship between each one of these conditional type statements. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make the truth tables for each one of these statements, including the original conditional statement here. So I'll put in our standard values here. And notice, obviously, that I have negations of P and Q. So again, I just like to go ahead and put them in. Going to need them anyways. And now I'm going to list each one of the variances of the conditional statement here. So we have our if P, then Q. Then I have if Q, that's the converse, then P. Then we'll do the inverse. If not P, then not Q. And then finally the contrapositive. If not Q, then not P. Now for each one of these statements, for it to be false, the antecedent has to be true and the consequent has to be false. So for the original conditional statement, it's right here, true, false, so this is where it's false. Other than that, it's true. For our converse here, where we flip-flop the antecedent and the consequent, where the antecedent is true and the consequent is false, that's where it's false. Other than that, it's true. For our inverse here, where the antecedent is true and the consequent is false, it's false. Other than that, it's true. And finally, for our contrapositive, where the antecedent is true and the consequent is false, it becomes false. All others are true. So if we look at these truth tables, we can see here for the original conditional statement here, its truth values are the same for its contrapositive down here. So this right here and this one right here are logically equivalent. And then as you can see here for the converse and the inverse, they're also logically equivalent. So as we can interpret it here, we can say, if your astrological sign is Scorpio, then you like to stay up late. That's logically equivalent to saying, if you do not like to stay up late, then your astrological sign is not Scorpio. In theory, we can make the argument that they both have the same meaning. Consequently, for the converse, if you like to stay up late, then your astrological sign is Scorpio. That's logically equivalent to the inverse. If your astrological sign is not Scorpio, then you do not like to stay up late. And again, in theory, we could state that they have the same meaning. And there you go.